I'm Matt.
I'm Shane.
And if you like what you hear, make sure you hit that thumbs up button real hard, and make sure you subscribe to Comic Movie Marks.
And also click that little bell for all of the notifications.
Whee!
Always remember,
if Trailer Trash can do it,
anyone can do it.
Hello and welcome everyone to another Comic Movie Marks video.
Shazam! Is that better for you?
Yeah, now he gets it. It's probably going to be spiked and I'm going to have to turn it down.
Yeah, I totally did. Pretty bad. Now it's like my computer's trying to adjust and everything. Shit, how's the audio supposed to be? If you haven't guessed it by now, we are talking about the Shazam spoiler review. You probably clicked on the fucking video anyways. I don't know why I do this shit. But here we are.
What is my purpose in life? Why do I bother?
I'm pointless. Oh, here we are. This is all spoilers, so if you want to hear Matt talk, because I can fucking add anything to the last video, go check out our non-spoiler review. I just talk about nonsense, and then Matt actually fills in some great material, so it's solid.
So I guess we'll give some pros and cons to what we thought about Shazam. For the most part, so I guess we'll start off with the pros.
With the pros, okay. All right.
Okay,
so
let's just shit over it now. I like that.
So I actually wanted to talk about the cons first, only because there wasn't a lot that I absolutely hated about this movie. We had talked about it, which it was the most glaring, obvious thing right when we left the theater, which was the fact that the action, it avoids any sort of like ultimate damage or super conflict. And Matt's exact quote, or I'm paraphrasing, so not exact quote, but it was something along the lines of, man, the world after Man of Steel, or something like that. Action movies after Man of Steel.
For the most part, a post Man of Steel action movie world where you can't have consequences in your battles anymore. And even though these two superpowered beings are fighting each other, who are on pretty high levels of what pretty much Zod and Superman were in Man of Steel, they're just denting the glass on a building, not even really going through it. They just happen to find very particular areas that just have nobody around. He can't even he gets slammed and he doesn't even break the asphalt. It takes you out of it. It really does. For me, I don't know how people feel about it. I really don't know how anybody else feels about it. But when I'm watching it, I'm like, this guy's punching through concrete earlier. So when he slams somebody or somebody slams another one, they should be going through concrete. But they're not. They're trying to keep it tight knit. And like the only people that they need to keep constantly saving is these people on this Ferris wheel during this battle. I really didn't have many problems with this movie until the third act. I was actually thinking, I'm like, this movie's solid for the most part. The humor's good. Everything looks cool. The acting is good so far. The story's kind of what I thought it was, but good. And then we hit that third act, and that's where I kind of just like, I don't know, they just kind of fell apart for me.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if the action was because of the type of movie that it was supposed to be, but I really think they were just tiptoeing around having any sort of catastrophic thing happen. And they did have
a fucking Ferris wheel falling down is the most catastrophic thing.
And that's such a typical movie trope. The bullies, of course, are going to be caught on there, and then Freddy's the one who flies in and saves him, or saves both of them. Like, you could see that coming from a mile away.
Right.
That was probably the worst of it. I had one question early on, especially being a parent, when the mom just lets her son fucking run off, and then she doesn't bother looking for him, and then all of a sudden changes her name, and I guess they swerved me because I wasn't fully expecting and couldn't really remember how Billy Batson becomes an orphan. When it finally buys it all back, he eventually finds his mom, and then she says, you know, I was young and I was 17, and I thought that they could take care of you a lot better.
I was young, dumb, and full of cum, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, essentially. So then it all kind of made sense, because I'm like, oh, okay, that's not realistic at all. You're just going to basically say he's lost, and all of a sudden he's an orphan. That doesn't make any sense to me. But then it made a lot of sense. Aside from that, I agree. Most of the movie just flowed incredibly well. There was a couple green screen type things that bugged me a little bit as well.
Oh yeah.
Almost some of it actually seemed a little bit better in the trailers than they did in this. So of some of the scenes that they showed, like the one where he runs up the ramp and then he's trying to fly and then falls down, that was kind of kind of glitchy and didn't look that good. Then there was a couple flying scenes that didn't look as good as they could, but for the most part, I thought it was really solid. And then that was one of the most glaring things, was the fact that they were avoiding to have any crazy damage. Even the part where he leaps a tall building in a single bound and ends up right through the window. It was, it's kind of turned into a joke, and then it wasn't anything crazy.
The one thing I did appreciate, though, is he went through the window. Because if this was like a fucking Marvel thing, he would have like slammed against the window and like it wouldn't have broken, and he would have slid down. He'd been like, as he would have slid down, and like the people would have looked at his face as it squished up against the thing. They did that with Thor, so that's why I'm using that as an example. Right. And so, so it wasn't so bad. The humor, for the most part, I thought was okay. The thing that I actually, honestly, other than the action scenes at the end, for the most part, obviously this is a spoiler, I really didn't like the Shazam family. I really thought that was lame. I kind of knew about it coming into this for the most part. It was rumored. They were talking about casting and stuff like that. And I kind of knew about it coming into it. But I thought it was going to mean a lot more. But it was just so lame how it came about, and it kind of, to me, took away any kind of special or uniqueness to Shazam himself, because it's like, well, there's just 5 others like you now. Not only is there a world with Superman, but then there's just, there's a bunch of you now. It really didn't work for me at the end, how they just all had powers, and it just was convenient for him so he could fight off the 7 deadly sins and Savannah at the same time. The thing I was expecting was Shazam being able to fight at least a little bit, and they really pushed the fact that he's a kid with literally no experience, which I guess makes sense. So, like, he just does not know how to fight at all. So when you're watching him fight, it's actually kind of annoying how he fights, because it's like he throws like one punch. There's like no combinations. I know I'm kind of like pushing on a fact here, but I felt like he fought better as a kid when he tries to fight those bullies than he did as a full-grown superhero. And they were trying to push this family message, and then like this, of course, yes. So now everybody gets a power. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't like it.
Yeah, with the Shazam family, I didn't mind it. It fit the type of movie that they were going for, kind of building the family. And, there were some corny moments, but I get it. I get the message they're trying to send, where he's like, at the very end, he says, I'm now home or something like that. And he's the one that does, everyone put their hands in. He does that whole thing. So I got it. I understood it. The only thing that had crossed my mind was now they're going to have to figure out a way for this entire Shazam family to disappear before they have some sort of, if this is the plan, if they want to keep it a connected universe and they do another Justice League, they're either going to have to ignore it completely or figure out a way for them to leave the planet and go somewhere else, similar to what Marvel does. That was the thing where I'm like, okay, now, as you said, now that there's a whole Shazam family, they don't even save it for the sequel. It's just, here they are. Here's all of them.
Exactly. And like, what do you do with Black Adam and stuff?
Right.
Which we got a hint towards what his movie could be about in Shazam. So I thought that was kind of cool.
All right. So to get into some of the cool things, just sticking on the Marvel family or Shazam family, whatever you want to call it. Matt and I were talking before we were recording, and I had Googled to show my wife DJ Catrona, who was cast as Superman in Justice League Mortals. I was Googling it, and I Googled Shazam family, and then it said Marvel family popped up instead. So I thought that was kind of funny. I liked some aspects of it. I thought Adam Brody, the guy, I can't remember, my wife knows exactly what he's from, but he's basically the guy who plays Freddie Freeman grown up, or not grown up, with the powers. I thought he was cast incredibly well. I actually enjoyed that part. And even the little girl, the little sister who grows up, and then, now she's doesn't really know what she's doing fully. I thought that was pretty cool. So they did a good job kind of casting them across to make them into a part of the Shazam family. I thought that was kind of cool. And then you get the Superman, who, now looking at him, I don't know if he would have been a very good Superman, at least not the body type. In this, as if you didn't notice, he's the one in the green with the big old beard, and he looked like a little bowling ball. Like, he was kind of short, and he's just like stocky and jacked as shit. Maybe it was the suit. I'm not really sure, but I'm like, I don't know about that type of Superman. But anyways, I digress. It fits here.
It would have helped you short people out. It would have made you feel confident.
Oh, thanks. So maybe it would have worked.
The comedy for the most part, I actually thought did work. I laughed at some things I didn't laugh at, obviously, but the gas station scene that you see in the trailer, I thought, or I guess convenience store, whatever the hell that is, I thought was easily the funniest part. And it kind of sucks they did show some of that stuff in the trailer, but when he gets the abilities and the first thing he thinks of is like, oh, let's go get your finest beer. And like some of the shit in the thing was actually Pabst Blue Ribbon, which I thought was funny. And like some other, like I think made up beer names that they had in there. But when they order the beer and then obviously the criminals come in, that was one of the funniest parts. Because then they get, like, he ducks behind the crippled kid, which was kind of funny.
Right. Yeah. I thought there were several aspects in the movie where he keeps forgetting that he's Shazam, and I thought they played so well. And that part specifically where he's, like, ducking behind Freddy, like, oh, just completely forgetting he's got the powers, and he's like, oh, yeah, oops. And then he walks out there. I thought that was really well done.
Obviously, when he learns he has bullet immunity, that was hilarious. And then, yeah, Freddy, well, maybe it's a suit that's bulletproof. Shoot him in the face.
Yeah, shoot me in the face.
that got me laughing pretty hard.
Yeah, that was great. Hands him his gun back, and they start shooting him. That was pretty well done.
Yeah, that one really got to me. I laughed pretty hard at that one.
I think the one that was the most surprising to me, in as far as humor wise, was the Hadouken. That caught me off guard, and it made me laugh pretty hard too. Just randomly, you get the grown up Asian dude, and he throws that out there because it's shooting his lightning bolt. That caught me off guard, and then he even had the Mortal Kombat like fatality or whatever when they were standing there. So that was pretty cool. But the Hadouken that made me laugh.
Yeah, I think that got both of us, and I think we're the only people in there that laughed because
yeah, you're right, we were. but it was awesome.
Yeah, that was good. And the story element, the acting was great. I love the family camaraderie was good. You know, jumping from foster home to being in a group home. The thing that a kid would do, trying to get money for his abilities. Like, he looks at it as a cash thing. Like, they're showing him on YouTube and shit, of course. You know, that's what kids would do. And it seemed like a constant theme through this, is like, no matter what shit was going on, they kept showing somebody recording it with their phone, which is like totally what people would do nowadays and shit. Like, even when the Ferris wheel was falling, they literally showed a person just sitting there recording the Ferris wheel falling down on their phone. I thought that was kind of characteristically cool that they did that. Anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. There is actually one negative that I forgot about. I had pretty much three big negatives: the action, the Shazam family, and then Dr. Savanya. In the beginning, I thought he was awesome, and they Ronin'd him at the end for me. They did something, again, you had this kind of badass guy who just wipes out his brother, his dad, just in the most badass way with the 7 deadly sins. I mean, they're biting people's heads off like Venom. I mean, they threw a dude out the window. There's a little bit of blood there and there, and I thought that was pretty entertaining and pretty hardcore. But then when he's dealing with these children, like, he's just constantly, it was kind of like a Bugs Bunny shit to me. It was just so weird. It's like, give up the powers. Okay, I'll go give up the powers. Oh, I tricked you. Run away. And then he's like, okay, let's do it again. Give up the powers. Okay, leave the kids alone. Don't kill the kids. And it was just kind of like over and over again. They kept doing this thing where he's just like, you know, I'm going to kill these kids. No, don't kill the kids, and like, don't hurt them. And they just kept doing that same routine over and over again. I think they did it like 3 times at the end there, and it got really, really annoying. And I was like, dude, you just wiped out this whole board meeting of people, and without even flinching. Like, you're trying to rule the world or whatever you're trying to do. You're trying to get ultimate power. Like, why are you just not like killing kids? I mean, I guess that would kind of take away the PG-13 rating, but he seemed so relaxed when it came to the kids. Like, he's just not going to kill the kids. These 7 deadly sins that he really has no control over aren't just wiping these kids out. They're demons. It kind of lost some of, again, if it's the stakes, like I was talking about, I think in the non-spoiler, it lacked stakes. And it just felt like when it came to the nut cutting time, they just kind of ran with the same little routine over and over again. I'm not saying they should axe kids, but they should have came up with a better way to,
I was going to say this. I know the Freddy actor played in the movie It, but this isn't the movie It. So I don't think that would happen. But I get your point, and I definitely agree with it. I think that I was super excited for what Mark Strong was going to bring to this character, and he did a pretty solid job until the third act. And then you're kind of like, meh, yeah, they nerfed him a little bit. He didn't have the overwhelming presence that I was really hoping and thought that he would have. So it kind of left me wanting more. And I don't know if that's because the story wasn't all over the place, but they were trying to focus on different things of like Billy Batson gaining his powers, Billy Batson and his newfound family, and then also him trying to find his mother, his real mother, and like there's a lot that was kind of really going on. And then you even get a little bit of backstory with Dr. Savanya as well. So there was a lot, and maybe they just didn't have enough time to really develop the character of Dr. Savanya and really show his presence. So I feel like that was somewhat of a letdown.
Oh, yeah. And even though I think it would have been a really big movie trope, like it would have been kind of obvious, they probably should have killed his actual mom. Like she died of cancer or something or something like that. Because the fact that she was just a deadbeat that just realized that she had like an out so she didn't have to take care of her kid, I'm not sure if that's really going to connect well with a lot of people. Because I'm kind of like sitting there and I'm like, I was just like, wow, like you just never thought maybe, hey, when you did get on your feet, maybe you should try to find him. Like there was just no attempt, and her reasoning was that she was 17 and she couldn't handle it anymore because the dad left and stuff. And I was like, I don't know if that's really you're making her a huge villain. Like this is not something you just walk away from and shit. Like you just made her a like supreme target numero uno there. And so I feel like they should have just had him like knock on the door and there'd be like a sister or something and be like, oh yeah, she passed away like 10 years ago or whatever from cancer or something. I don't know. It would have been so movie trope-ish, and I get it, but that alternative was odd to me.
Yeah, I agree. And as I talked about, it wasn't one that I really saw coming. I get they were trying to hammer home that the foster family is his new family, but that was kind of odd. We're supposed to be talking about pros, but another thing that I was kind of curious on, that if you harken back to one of our old episodes with Dave and Chris, when we talk about that I was just pinging them for answers on this Shazam movie, one of the things that I was really curious about, and I was somewhat let down, was the fact that this is a connected universe. They do reference Batman and Superman, and you have like the exact Batarang that Batman used. Aside from the end credit Superman being the same, they don't reference a whole lot. I was shaking my head at that a little bit. That one kind of let me down, and I was hoping for more interconnectivity, very similar to Aquaman as well, where I was expecting a little bit more, and that kind of bugged me. And then the whole Superman scene, I mean, I believe we talked about it. I'm not even sure.
No, we haven't talked about it.
Oh, we haven't talked about it. Okay. I know we've talked about it not recording, but the fact that they chopped off his head, it wasn't even Henry Cavill. Then they also used the Man of Steel, or they didn't use the Man of Steel's theme. They used the classic John Williams score. That kind of bugged me as well, but yeah, I guess it is what it is.
I get it. The John Williams score is probably one of the most recognizable scores, especially for a character like Superman. Just let it go. I just don't get why they have to keep reusing it. The Man of Steel one is just as iconic. It's just as good as the John Williams one, and just let it flow. I think it would have actually fit better for the way he walked out.
Oh, absolutely. It definitely would. And if they could have actually coordinated and had actual Henry Cavill with maybe some lines or something, that scene would have meant so much more. We kind of got it spoiled because I was asking Dave and Chris at that coffee shop if that actually happened. But it's still, the scene wasn't cool at all. It should have been like a badass, like, oh, Superman, another friend has shown up, and yeah, it was just kind of a letdown.
And Dave had a picture on his phone of the Superman holding a lunch tray, and I'm like, why the fuck is Superman holding a lunch tray? like that just bugged the shit out of me. And he's like, well, it'll make sense in the movie. I'm like, what the fuck is he holding a lunch tray? And it's actually, honestly, Dave, you're wrong. It didn't make sense in the movie. Why the fuck is Superman there? Why?
Because Shazam brought a friend.
I guess. And those kids are like, what, is Superman going to bring us dessert? Like that.
Yeah.
Like, And
Exactly.
oh, by the way, the bullies, man, if there's actually legitimate bullies like that, I'm sure there is somewhere in the world, but Jesus Christ, the bullying level was above 9,000. I've seen some bullying in my life, even done a little, but I've never known anybody just to literally beat up a crippled kid, like a kid that cannot stand without a crutch. Like, they're just beating the shit out of this kid, and like everybody's just like, oh, like just standing around. I'm like, wait, not one person is gonna help the crippled kid? And like these kids just drive up with a F-150 on the front of the school? Yeah, that ain't happening. Anyway,
right? I
guess that's the adult in me. That's the adult in me. Like, there's no fucking parking for kids in front of a school. Yeah, I guess that's just me being
and if there was, how are those bullies ditching? I mean, come on.
Exactly. They'll see them leave. Anyway, they don't have a hall pass. Where's that security guy now, Mr. Moron? Anyway.
Yeah.
Also, what's the grade level in those fucking school? That school must be like a 1 through 12 school. Jesus Christ. You had like the little girl that was there. She was going to that school. And then like they had the 14, 15-year-olds. Those kids driving the truck got to be at least 16. I was like, Jesus, this is like a 1 through 12 school.
Yeah, like one of those small town schools that you basically go to the same school the entire time you're there and you know everybody.
Yeah, small town Philadelphia. Anyway.
Yeah. Exactly. Real quick on the, the crippled Freddy kid. I thought, and I didn't know his name off the top of my head, so I looked it up. Jack Dylan Grazer, who I knew he was in It. He's been in a couple other things. I thought he did a fantastic job.
He did.
He was one of my favorite characters in this movie. Obviously, Zachary Levi did a really good job. I thought the way that he portrayed Shazam was spot on, even better than I would have anticipated. But man, really, Jack Grazer nailed it. Hit it out of the park. Just wide range of emotions, the humor that he brought to this character. So yeah, as Matt said, pretty generic, run of the mill. My family enjoyed it. All of them. I'm sure this is going to be one that we end up purchasing. They all enjoyed it for different reasons, which I thought was pretty cool. I could see me throwing this on, on a weekend or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Just kind of having it on in the background. I won't get sucked into it like I do with Man of Steel for the 300th time. The 300th time. But it'll definitely be one that I'm sure I'll purchase, and it was definitely enjoyable. That's the word that I'm using for this, an enjoyable movie. So for me, I'm going to give this a 3.3 out of 5 mark.
One thing I want to add that I did think was funny, I had my girlfriend with me, and she watched Captain Marvel with us as well, gave her thoughts on Captain Marvel, the Marvel version. And immediately when the first post-credit scene stopped, she looked at me and she's like, why couldn't they do this type of story for Captain Marvel? This was such a better written story. And so I just thought that was kind of funny. I was just like, oh, it's just different people, they actually kind of tried on this movie compared to Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel broke $1 billion.
Yep. Remember that.
Wow.
Remember that. So my score, actually very close to Shane's, going to be 3.2 out of 5 marks. I was thinking 3, but I'm kind of forgiving some of the stuff at the end for the most part. Maybe I shouldn't care too much about the Shazam family, but it just bugged the hell out of me. So I'll give it a 3.2. Go check it out. Help it out. And then obviously get ready for fucking Joker, which is be coming out in, 6 months? Yeah, about 6 months. So
yep, we got Godzilla coming up.
Oh, I can't fucking wait for Godzilla. My most anticipated movie of the year, Godzilla. Can't wait. Can't fucking wait. In case I don't see you.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. You're one of very few to make it to the end.
Yes, thank you very much.
Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Comic Movie Marks Podcast and hit the notification bell. All these fucking YouTube channels say this shit, so I'm going to say it now.
Yes, it's perfect. And if you want to hear our full podcast, you can check out our podcast on iTunes or any other podcast subscription service.
Make sure you subscribe. Thanks again.